In our last session, we discussed a letter from a man whose son was developing a crossed eye, and whose wife refused to allow their son to have the condition evaluated by a physician. I suggested that the condition was a medical emergency, and that the risk of her being offended was far outweighed by the risk of their son going blind. I also suggested a calm way for him to approach her, but acknowledged that she might still resist him. Now back to the writer of the letter. After you have patiently and lovingly listened to your wife and acknowledged her fears and asked for her support in getting help for your son, she might still fight you. Fear is usually an irrational thing, and being irrational, it often doesn't respond to reason. You have to be ready for that. If she continues to resist you, explain that you will be making the appointment, and you will be taking him to the office. You would love to have her support, but you will get the evaluation and the treatment with or without her support. Then call the office of an ophthalmologist, an eye surgeon who is an MD and therefore qualified to diagnose and treat this condition. Tell the receptionist that your child's eye is crossing and you have been counseled by a physician already that you should get an appointment without a long delay. Now, remember that when people are afraid, they behave in crazy ways. Expect that. Your wife may still interfere with your son's treatment. I've seen this before. She might refuse to allow him, for example, to wear glasses if they're prescribed. Or she might interfere with his wearing a patch occasionally over one eye. That's one of the treatments that's sometimes prescribed for this condition. Or she might attempt to deny surgery that might be required. If she does any of that, on behalf of your son who needs your help, you have to acquire a spine. Now, I'm not making fun of you here. Many of us have been taught that it's unkind to tell another person no. But in this case, you'll have to. I'll write you a prescription, required, 1 stiff spine for the benefit of your son. You have to tell her that even though you love her, you cannot stand by, you will not stand by, and allow your son to be injured any more than you would allow someone to hit him. Your son must have an advocate, and that is your responsibility. You might even have to tell her, I have worked with couples where this has been necessary, that if she persists in her lack of cooperation or in her resistance, you will call the local government's Department of Child Services or Child Protection, and they would legally require her cooperation with treatment, or at the very least prevent her interference. Governments can be pretty slow and impotent at times, but occasionally, especially when it comes to children, they can move rather quickly and impressively. In our next session, we'll talk more about your wife's fears and about how you can help her with them.